Now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Abir Bouguera, an artist, entrepreneur, currently studying journalism here in Qatar, and Asma Al-Khulaifa, a Georgetown graduate currently working for the Supreme Educational Council on niche projects in education involving the arts. And they represent team iSTEAM. So please come onto the stage and tell us about your project. A big round of applause.
Your Excellency, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, today we will be presenting iSTEAM. iSTEAM is an acronym for Integrated Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. The idea of emphasizing these subjects in delivering the curriculum has been driven by the business community, with the goal of preparing an agile and competitive workforce. For each of these fields, creativity plays a big role, which is why STEM has evolved into STEAM, with the emphasis on art. Studies have shown that focusing on STEAM education will help solve many global problems in education today. Let me introduce you to Abdullah, a 15-year-old student who always complains that school is boring and uses this excuse to justify his underperformance in class. However, Abdullah is doing very well using his laptop at home, sometimes up to 5 hours a day. He enjoys playing interactive games and feels that technology is fun to use. His case is not unique. What we're seeing here is one of the many problems that students deal with today, which leads me to our problem statement. Students are still following a very traditional path in learning, where habitual learning outweighs creativity and innovation. Also, students don't really have a real motivator to exercise their full potential. Not only that, but teachers are struggling to bring new and exciting ways of teaching to keep the students motivated. Additionally, students are showing a declining interest in STEM subjects. And like I've mentioned before, STEM subjects are vital in today's world. Another point to note is that students display a lack of 21st century skills, from critical thinking to creative analysis, problem solving, teamwork, the list goes on. And lastly, visual arts are not a real priority in schools. iSTEAM shares the commitment of school leaders to provide all students with an education that empowers them to become responsible, productive participants in the communities that they live in and that they will help build in the future. But empowerment is a very big word. How do we plan to do so?
Empowering students is indeed a very big responsibility, but iSTEAM is planning on doing so by creating an activity-based, classroom-centered solution that would make the learning process much more fun and enjoyable for students. We will be challenging students by incorporating cutting-edge technology into the classroom. But one question could be asked here: why cutting-edge technology? So let me answer that for you. Cutting-edge technology for 4 main reasons. 1, it closes a big gap. High school students spend an average of 5 to 7 hours connected to one device or another outside of the class. In the classroom, however, the use of technology is very limited, which creates a big gap between the kind of experiences students have outside of the classroom and the kind of experiences students might have in the classroom. Technology fixes this problem. 2, technology keeps students updated with changing times. We know that we live at an age where things are changing in a very fast way, and new inventions are emerging every single day. So incorporating technology into the learning process would always keep our students updated. 3, technology will offer students an interactive way of learning. And finally, technology will develop a high level of engagement among students. So now you know our strategy. Here's how we're going to implement it. We will be following 3 main steps in implementing our strategy. 1, we will be partnering with schools to improve the quality of the learning experience offered to students in 5 main areas: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. 2, we will be working with experts to develop quality instructional lessons that would complement the existing curriculum in the country. And 3, we will be providing workshops for teachers and students that will be focused on 1 pilot technology. Now, one very important question to ask here is, what would be the best technology to incorporate art within STEM subjects and to also keep students as engaged as possible? As a team, we have identified the best technology to serve this purpose: 3D printers. So again, why 3D printers? We have three main reasons to believe that 3D printers is the best technology to use in this case. One, it enables students to get a tangible sense of what they're learning. And here, I want you to imagine something. You're in a biology class. You're learning about the human heart. Don't you think you would have a much better experience being engaged in the lesson that you are having if you have the opportunity to carry an actual 3D printed heart in your hands, as opposed to limiting yourself to the pictures and images you might have in the textbook? Think about it. Two, 3D printers have or offer a holistic learning experience to students. And here it actually goes without saying that this technology would allow students to have a better grasp of the material they're learning just because more senses are being involved in the learning process. And finally, this technology would allow students to discover new possibilities. And this is actually one of the very important points to acknowledge when it comes to the benefits of 3D printers. Why? Simply because this technology, puts in play the most important skills to incorporate in the learning process. And these skills are mathematical skills, artistic skills, engineering skills, and entrepreneurial skills. And just in case this does not make sense to you yet, let me show you what I mean. It all starts with the idea of the product the student wants to produce at the very end. In this case, I have an example of a dissected frog. So the first stage is to actually sketch your idea using a pen and a paper, just as we have in the example here. Then we move to the second stage, where the student will create a digital illustration of the product that he or she wants to produce using a specific software. We then move to the first stage, where the actual fun begins. You see your idea coming to life through the 3D printer. And finally, there it is, your final product. And in these four stages, we can actually see that students will be putting a set of skills in play, including artistic skills, mathematical skills, and engineering skills. So coming to this point, you can see that iSTEAM's goal is to always identify the latest technology and add that one fun element or design element to it to create a complete educational package with the help of some other experts. Our pilot program will actually have four main elements in the educational package. One, the 3D printer, being the technology used in this case. Two, the curriculum that will have the design element into it. Three, the lesson plans. And finally, a number of workshops to help students and teachers throughout the process. Now, it's very important to remember that this is a model that could be applied anywhere in the world. But we as a team thought the best place to start would be Qatar. So why Qatar?
Well, Qatar already has an appropriate environment that is based on the following points: political and socioeconomic stability, the financial means to improve the quality of education, the need to improve math and science education, which is cited prominently in the National Development Strategy 2011-2016, and a strong interest in economic diversification. Qatar has rightfully identified the investment on human resources alongside oil and gas through education as one of the main objectives for future sustainability of the country. iSTEAM's vision aligns perfectly with Qatar National Vision 2030 of a knowledge-based economy. We know teachers are a key factor in education, so better teachers means higher academic performance, which then leads to the unlocking of students' potential, which will help us to develop future leaders. Now, how are we actually going to implement our project? We will need a startup fund of $75,000 to get the project off the ground. On the right side, you can see how we will be sustaining our project. In the long run, we will be relying on sponsorship funds, making revenues by licensing our educational model, and hosting external workshops that will generate some more revenue. You can help us help teachers to bring in an inquiry-based, activity-based, classroom-centered solution. iSTEAM's vision is an education system that produces students who are leaders. We believe in empowering all children to rise to set higher goals and reach their full potential. Imagine, create, learn. We will be in the Learners Cafe this afternoon with some educational prototypes of the 3D printer. Please feel free to come up to us with any questions, and we'll be very happy to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Obviously, these are our presenters, but it's part of a team effort. So I'd now like to invite the other members of the iSTEAM team to come to the stage and join us on the sofa and respond to your questions.
My name is Fahad. I'm the chairperson of Qatar Scientific Club. I have just been in this role. I would like to thank you for the great idea. That was one of our priorities at Qatar Scientific Club. In Qatar, I'm glad that you think to start this project in Doha. Qatar Scientific Club offer full support to this team. I know education very well because I work there with the schools and Supreme Education Council. I think Qatar Scientific Club offer 2 different times for work, morning and afternoon. That will give you a very good privilege to focus on this project. I will keep all my questions later this afternoon, but I would like to offer this support to you, full support, not a support only to this idea, because it's clearly this is one of the new generation's requirements, I think, for our youth and our students. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's fantastic. The first person already with an offer of support. So perhaps any questions about the details of their presentation, or the man over there, please.
Yasser Al-Hindi. I'm working in Ethra Youth, Saudi Aramco. Thank you so much for the presentation. Very well done. I have a question regarding to the approach that you're seeking. Are you focusing on the fabrication facilities of only 3D printers for this short term, or you are thinking about other facilities in the long term?
Actually, nowadays we are thinking about using the 3D printer technology because it is a cutting-edge technology nowadays, and it helps using your artistic skills, so designing the thing you are studying and then making it real and materialize the abstract things that you are seeing in the classroom. But also, we are open to other new technologies. Maybe if in 5 years or 6 years, a new technology appears and it is really helpful in our model, we will go for it.
So your research brought you to the conclusion that interaction was needed in the classroom. This is what's missing. This is what disengages students, or lack of this is what's causing problems from students from learning. But then you came to a very unique conclusion that 3D printers is the answer. Can you talk a little bit about your approach in terms of how you landed there, or like what are the other things with interaction that you could do and consider to expand that? Because it seems like a very specific focus, because there's lots of opportunities for interaction.
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, actually. The lack of interaction is just one of the problems that we were tackling with this model. The other problem that we wanted to focus on specifically is the lack of link between art and science, or scientific subjects and artistic subjects. And that's something that we were trying to create by specifically using the 3D printer. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Jamal Debel, Saudi Arabia. I didn't attend the first part. Is this to be established as a company? Because I had a question about sustainability, that you could be excited and motivated in the beginning, but then life goes on. If you have other jobs. If it is a company, then what, I think it's related to the previous question on the other side, about that you and to Yasser Al-Hindi's question, that it is a very specific thing that you are doing, which is 3D, that is becoming very common across the world. And you would need, for motivation, for excitement, you need a total pedagogy. You know, the students, I've trained some students with 3D printing in Saudi Arabia through Saudi Aramco. And the kids are very excited to see their prototype, as you said, come to life. But then the excitement would disappear very soon. So unless you have a total solution for motivation, yes, 3D would be exciting the first, second day, but like the Fab Lab that Saudi Aramco is sponsoring in Saudi Arabia, it has a range of solutions, including 3D for design and creativity.
First of all, about if you're asking if the iSTEAM is a company or iSTEAM is an organization or something like this, we're planning to start an educational organization that's going to focus on developing STEAM education, STEAM subject, and the success of the student in STEAM subject. Regarding the technology and the keeping the motivation, we are adapting the 3D printer as a pilot here. There are several technologies, as also we have visited Fab Lab, that could be adapted in schools. So there are, for example, the laser cutting machine, and we go into like a different engineering part to talk about it. But I think there is enough technology that could be adapted, and iSTEAM will be actually working and focusing as the next device to adapt in the future. So as I said, like the printer is just the educational tool to start the whole project out of the ground.
My name is YC Jiang from Hong Kong. Thank you very much for your team's presentation. Beyond the project itself, I would like to know the team members' feeling, you know, the learning experience in the whole process. What kind of special learning experience, what kind of educational experience you earned from this project? Yes, thank you.
Actually, the process was really interesting because we started not knowing each other first. And then we started conversations to know the interests of each other. And after that, it was challenging to get to the teams. But then when we saw that we are team members from different fields, some people are journalists, other engineers, business people. So we are from different fields, and it brings diversity to our team, which is really interesting. Sometimes it's challenging because, for example, when the engineers are talking about the 3D printer, how does it work, the other people we don't know what we are talking about. But then we start trying to understand each other better, and through communication, it is we learned a lot. It is also challenging because we live in different countries, and it is hard to get in touch with each other. When you are talking and communicating through Skype or organizing meetings or Facebook or just emails, it's different from your experience while you are sitting in front of each other and try to convince the other of your ideas. But it's really we went it step by step. And I think we did great things. I mean, like the whole process was really interesting.
Fantastic. Well, I think they deserve a huge round of applause for iSTEAM. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for coming and answering the questions. And thanks also goes to NSAD, who have lent us this machine for the day. Next up, we have Fatima Ramadan, who is a Georgetown graduate, currently working for Teach for Qatar to improve the standards of teaching across Qatar. And she's going to be introducing the Orenda project.
Your Excellency, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am here to speak to you on behalf of the Orenda project. But first, allow me to introduce you to the children who inspired us to act. Every day, warfare, political instability, and natural disasters force ordinary people like you and I and them to flee their homes. Many leave without notice, taking only what they can carry. Some will never return. After fleeing from their homes, displaced populations are excluded from their host communities and receive little to no support when they try to rebuild their lives. The Orenda project will empower displaced populations by building primary schools through the process of co-creation. What we bring to you is a new model to work with displaced populations. Today, there are 51.2 million displaced people in the world, 47% of which are children. In Pakistan alone, there are 1.6 million displaced people. This is the largest number in any given country. According to the United Nations, we can divide the journey of displacement in 4 stages. The first and second stages refer to the process through which displaced people are forced to flee from home and move into humanitarian camps. These camps are merely a transition ground, and they're not meant to be a solution in and within themselves. When their time in these camps has elapsed, displaced populations move to the peripheries of big cities and create what we know as shanty towns. Displaced people in stage 3 no longer receive humanitarian support, but it gets worse. They often disappear from the radar of humanitarian organizations and government institutions, and they become a forgotten population. The Orenda project will work with displaced people in stage 3 to help them through the process of integration and allow them to achieve stage 4. Our philosophy is based on the core concept of co-creation. Through co-creation, we learn and we work with them in order to provide them a primary school and a contextualized curriculum that will empower them and allow for a smooth process of integration. We have devised a 5-step approach that puts our philosophy into action. After we identify the location for our project, we engage with the community, and we do so through one-on-one interviews and surveys. After analyzing the results from these, we move on to step 2, the overall plan design. This is the most important step of our approach because it is when we work very closely with the community and further understand their needs. Through this, it is in this step that their input will guide the outcome of our project. After understanding their concerns, we consult with other experts within the field of development and other relevant subjects, and we devised an implementation plan. When this has been completed, we inaugurate the project on site, implement, and we install monitoring and evaluation mechanisms to ensure that our project reaches the targets that we have set for it. We emphasize on the process of co-creation because we truly believe that it is a very beneficial process to work with displaced people. The reason why is because through the process of co-creation, we allow for a space in which displaced populations can speak up about their frustrations and reach real solutions. We empower them, and we instill a sense of ownership, which enhances the longevity and the sustainability of our project. In turn, we learn from them about their knowledge of their environment, which helps us devise cost-effective solutions. For our pilot project, we will build a primary school in Afghanistan, a shantytown in Islamabad, Pakistan. Afghan refugees are the largest community of refugees in the world, and this shantytown hosts Afghan refugees who have been displaced for over 30 years. In addition to this, one of our team members, Harun Yassin, has worked in this shantytown before and is familiar with the context. Last July, we visited Afghan Basti, and Harun Yassin surveyed 1,500 residents. So you can see on the screen, these are some of our findings from the surveys we conducted. These numbers demonstrate extreme poverty and unhygienic conditions, with little opportunity for change, with 44% of the children in Afghan Bastis facing lack of access to education. After we collected these findings, we shared them with the community. This slide shows you Harun Yassin with the men in the community talking with them and understanding what they believe the school in their community should look like in order for the project to be successful. After revising their input, we have pinpointed 3 pillars which will be tackled by the curriculum of our school. And these are the following: basic primary education, hygiene education, and entrepreneurship education. In addition to the academic side of our project, co-creation allows us to understand the culture and the values of the community. And in doing so, they have helped us understand that the building itself is very important to the success of our project. Through co-creation, we have devised this model. With the help of Virginia Commonwealth University and Qatar and the input of the displaced population in Afghan Basti, we have come up with a contextualized and a relevant building structure that will lead to a successful project. We have divided our project in 3 phases. Currently, we are in the pre-launch phase. We are devising the curriculum and raising funds. At the launch stage, Harun Yassin will move to Islamabad in order to take up the post of project manager. And soon after this, in fact, right after this, we will implement monitoring and evaluation mechanisms. So how much does it cost to improve the lives of Afghan refugees in Afghan Basti? These 3 buildings, 2 classrooms, 1 library, and a playground are worth $1,500. And the project's first year running costs are $46,000. This will go to teacher training, teacher salaries, and maintenance, amongst others. We plan on sustain our project through crowdfunding campaigns, an endowment fund, and CSR opportunities. I have introduced you to the children who inspired us, and I hope that today I have inspired you to join us in taking action.
Thank you very much. And I'd now like to invite all the other members of the Orenda team to come to the stage and yet again take the sofa to answer questions. Well, a very exciting project, and I hope we have some good questions out there for the team. Who would like to go first?
Hi, well done. Congratulations. I'm a social worker, and I was very happy to see that you have some basic premises for community organizing and building this. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Well, maybe it is a question. Are you aware that there are international standards for how you use images of children when you market? So when you're marketing your Afghan program, just be aware of how you're allowed to use pictures of children, because some of those pictures you would not be able to use internationally in marketing. Okay? Thanks.
An interesting piece of advice. At the back, the gentleman there, please.
Hi, this is Kesar Rafiq from Kashmir, Pakistan. I have a question. How can you incorporate your curriculum in already existing structure of government education system in Pakistan? And what is your strategy for this? Thank you.
We're already using the curriculum that's been provided by the government of Pakistan. If you saw on the slides, we had basic education and then entrepreneurship and hygiene education. The basic primary education curriculum that we're using is in line with the criteria set by the government of Pakistan. And this is the same curriculum that's being used in government schools. So when the students graduate from our school, they can move on to government schools and continue their education because they've studied the same curriculum that they study in government schools. The only thing that's different is that they're being taught entrepreneurship and hygiene to tackle the unique problems that they face.
Great. So when you talk about the co-creation of curriculum, in fact, it's those on the entrepreneurship part and the hygiene part where they've been more involved.
Correct.
So for the sake of everyone, can you include entrepreneurship and hygiene education in existing structures?
Well, that's a policy level question. We can do that at some later point in our project when we have enough funding and enough influence to ask government officials to include these subjects in the curriculum as well. We believe that they should be in the curriculum. We're going to implement them in our project, and at some point later on, hope to convince the government to include them in the national curriculum as well.
Fantastic. Additional questions, I think right at the back to give the people there a chance, if we can get a microphone.
Hi, Sarah Khattab from Teach for Qatar. I have a question about first I want to say excellent presentation. I wanted to ask about the hiring of local teachers. I don't know what the overall situation or environment is over there, but do you think that would be a challenge getting teachers to work in what I can assume are very bad conditions? What's your plan for that?
So in the beginning phase, we're hiring teachers from outside the village, from the city itself. So in the first 2 years, what we're doing is we're hiring teachers from outside. Later on, while these teachers are working in the school, we'll train people from within the community to become teachers in the school. So we've identified in the co-creation process, there are some people in this community who do have some education and could serve as teachers. We just want to give them enough training to become effective teachers. When they've gotten that training, we'll bring them into the school and hire the teachers from that village to serve in our school.
Okay, next questions down here.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for an exciting project. And you didn't introduce yourselves. Your project sounds to be so big, but it's so surprising that it will take $1,500 and $60,000. How will it happen?
So if I assume correctly, your first question is about the cost of the building. The second question is about the overall budget. So the cost of the building is so low because we worked with the community in identifying a building pattern that uses as many local resources as possible. So how these people have been building over the years in their villages, that they've utilized as much material that's available around them. They've recycled many of the materials and built buildings that require less cement, less steel, and all of those structures, which is why building a school like this costs so much in our model. The rest of what we've placed an emphasis on, and why 46,000 is given to the rest of the project, is because we want to put as much money as possible in teacher training and teacher salaries, because we consider that teachers are the most important part of our school. And so the rest of the money goes into training the teachers, giving them their salaries, buying stationery for the school, and other parts of the budget. But building cost is low because we've used their patterns and reflected them in our building style. And that's why it's come out to be such a low figure.
That is an impressively low figure. The lady down here, please.
Marta Llanos from Peru, congratulations. But I just want, in a sense, is related to the previous question, because I would like to hear a little bit more about community participation. Normally, the cycle of 5 points that you put there is a theoretical cycle, but we have seen IDPs, these refugee camps that people make their life for 20, 25 years, and they still continue living in IDP camps. So I feel that one very important part is community participation, not only to reduce the cost, but to make sure that it's no more a project. I go around the world evaluating projects, and when there is no money, even the most wonderful projects collapse. So the basic thing will be community participation. So I would like to hear a little bit more, what efforts are you putting into community participation? Because normally on these camps, there are all kinds of resources, unimaginable people who really, on the contrary, will be very, very happy to be involved. So what are you doing on that line that will assure sustainability?
Thank you for the question. I think you mentioned that the model is a theoretical model, but again, the whole philosophy that we're embracing is that of co-creation. So we didn't come up with any solution on our own. We had very extensive conversations with the population there on what kind of change would they like to see in their community. So we surveyed around 1,600 people, and the last question was, if you could change something in your environment, what would it be? So we studied those things. Then we asked the community leaders, how could your community be engaged in the process, in the school that we have? So whether that be in building the school or teaching opportunities for the people in the specific slum or surrounding slums. So those are all the things that we have considered and engage in the community itself. I think on administrative tasks would be more on our behalf. So for example, evaluating and monitoring the progress of the project would be coming from us. But anything else that happens on the ground, it would be heavily in cooperation with the local population.
Could you please join me in congratulating this team for what it's managed to achieve? So, the third project we have for you today is called Passion to Profession, and presenting it we have Faith Abodian, an entrepreneur, writer and speaker, and currently working for the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. Please, can I invite Faith to take the stage?
Very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks to those who are able to stay for this presentation. It's a great honor to be here this afternoon for lots of reasons, but there is a question that's been on my mind over the course of the last year, and it still stays on my mind. And here's the question. What is the relevance of education if it fails to adequately prepare the youngest members of society for the life that's ahead of them? That's the question. And I want you to think about that and think about it very carefully as I introduce to you Passion to Profession, which is a revolutionary career development platform for young people in Bangladesh. And I call it a revolutionary platform because it's all about connecting education to life, which was part of the theme of WISE last year. And connecting education to life for young people like this gentleman, Nazim, who we met in the course of our research in Bangladesh. And Nazim is 18 years old, and like many people of his age that I know, Nazim has a fairly clear idea of what he wants to be in future. He's defined for himself that he wants to be a doctor. And that's not very shocking because his entire life, all he has heard is that being a doctor equates to being successful. If you're a doctor, you've lived a fulfilled life. But no one has ever asked Nazim these questions. What are you really good at? What are you passionate about? What kind of change do you want to bring about in your country? Nazim has clearly never considered careers in social entrepreneurship or robotics or management consulting. He's never imagined himself in anything but medicine. And that's a slight problem because people like Nazim, who are very set on conventional careers like medicine, realize very quickly that there are simply not enough seats for aspiring doctors in universities anywhere in Bangladesh or across Asia for that matter. He also realizes very quickly that the cost of medical school is prohibitively expensive. And not everyone who really thinks they want to be a doctor will end up becoming a doctor. And here is what results. They drop out of school. Right now, there are 7.4 million children who are working under the age of 17 in Bangladesh. 1.3 million of them are set to work in hazardous conditions because that's what happens when you realize that what you got set upon without very clear foundations in your passions, your interests, and your skills, and the demands of the local economy will result in dropping out of school and potentially finding yourself a menial job or getting married if you're a girl. And that's not great because this is what happens. In Bangladesh, let's think about school enrollment rates. About 18 million children start primary school every single year, but the numbers drop very quickly between grade 1 and grade 6. You're left with about 6 million children by lower secondary school. After post-secondary education, you got only 2 million left. That means 10.9% only of children who start primary schools are progressing to post-secondary education. Flip the number, that's 90% of children who are not making it to post-secondary education. And let's make that a little bit more specific. 11.9 million children who are starting primary school every single year are falling far behind their peers in a country that has so many needs, that's got great potential. Because these are not just children. These are talented, passionate, dedicated children whose future will shape the future of their country. But let's think about an alternate future. Imagine a whole new scenario in which every single child starting primary school has a clear idea of what future waits for them. They've got access to comprehensive career guidance and they're able to see what they're working towards. And not just that, they also have personal mentors to help them walk the journey. That could potentially stem the tide of school attrition and help to develop a great future for a country like Bangladesh. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, passion to profession. P2P, as we like to call it, is a revolutionary, again, career development platform for young people, helping them to get access to up-to-date, accurate, and relevant information that can help them to make informed career decisions. And not just career decisions out of the blue, but career decisions that are stemmed in an understanding of their own passions, their own interests, their own skills, and also rooted in their awareness of the local demands of their country's economy. That is the whole plan. That's what we want to help to bring about. And you might be asking, how does it work? What really is this thing? It really is an online career platform. It's a website that's got a menu of career options. Anyone who goes on this website will be able to read a description of a potential career, what the qualifications are to get into that career, and what the job prospects are. But the real uniqueness is a series of videos. There are 3 videos to every single career. The first is from an undergraduate student who is studying what that person is thinking about. So you are a young 16-year-old in Bangladesh, or maybe 14-year-old. You want to study social entrepreneurship because you've heard about it. You can see a video of a student who is currently in university studying for social entrepreneurship, talking about what the highlights and daily challenges are of the program, gives you a picture of what you might be like in 3 or 4 years. That's a great head start. Beyond that, you also get a chance to hear from a university professor who has perhaps taught this program for 5, 10, or 15 years, who can say, I've had this kind of students over the past 20 years, maybe, and here is what my best students have embodied. This is what you should be working on if you're going to be that person. And more importantly, each child gets to see a video of a working professional, a person who is already in the field, saying, this is what my job actually is. So that's a range of options for that 14-year-old boy. You can see what you'll be like in 3 years. Hear from the person who will be working with you for the next 4 years of university, and you might see who you might be in the next 10 years. That might help the average child who's thinking about dropping out, might help them stay in school. Beyond that, we're also hoping to do personality career awareness, because research shows that there are many links between who we are and what we do. So maybe we can help people better understand who they are to help them decide what they want to do. And we hope to then establish those real-world mentor connections to help each person build a network of professional and academic mentors to help them walk the journey of life. And as we grow on, we hope to have large career expos in Bangladesh and spread outside the country. We also want to have university guidance so each person really knows how to access the careers that wait for them, and to also spread into rural areas so that where you're from should not determine who you can become. And so here's the question, how innovative is this idea? Has it been done before? In Bangladesh, there is no record that something of this nature exists. But we looked outside Bangladesh. We looked at different projects in India, in the USA, in Canada, and we found that they've all got different kinds of weaknesses that make our project really unique, because we're a cost-free system. We're not limited to school districts. Anybody can access this project, and it's not focused on any specific career, as we found in some of the places that we looked at. So, what have we done so far, and what's ahead of us? Over the course of this year, we've done our research in Bangladesh. We've collected our data. We've met with people on the ground. We've analyzed the situation. We have a clear understanding of what we're going into. And the next thing for us is from January to March of next year to develop this beta website with 5 career options, fully functional 5 options that each person can review. We will then go on the ground for the next 3 months testing this system in 10 schools in Bangladesh, 5 public schools and 5 private schools. Because again, where you're from should not determine the kind of information you have. So we are spreading this equally between private and public schools in Bangladesh. We hope very much to then get on the ground for the next 3 months, establishing these real mentor connections and also helping to record the 90 videos, because by November next year, we want to have a fully functional website with 30 career options, with 3 ranges of videos for each option. And in 2 years, we want to have 80 career options on our website. And watch out, because we're likely going to be back here next year to showcase the progress that we have made on this project. So where do you come into the picture? The first thing you can do is to mentor us, help us to refine our program and evaluate our results as we walk this journey. We also need $141,000 to bring this to reality, and here's a spread of where that money is going into. Beyond that, we need implementation partners. We need people who will help us develop this beta website and get on the ground in Bangladesh and bring this to reality. And beyond that, we need referrals. Because if you like what you're hearing and you're thinking about children in Bangladesh who need this service, talk to people who you know and tell them about us. And they can meet us in the Learner's Voice Cafe to talk about this project in more detail. And so let's take a step back and think about the young man we saw at the start. He's not in medical school. He's not on an internship. He's actually in a tailor's shop where he works. He dropped out of school not too long ago. And he's just one more person that I found to be on Bangladesh's production lines, because that's what I found in my research. What is really the heart of Bangladesh? What do we know about Bangladesh? What is in the media? Bangladesh is known to be a country of production lines, just having textile factories, moving things out the same. But there is a different kind of production that we can do in Bangladesh. And we're thinking about a generation of passionate, highly skilled, dedicated young people who are working together to build the future of Bangladesh from the bottom up. Let's stop random production lines. Let's produce a generation that will change the story of Bangladesh, because this is the future. Let's transform that Nazim to one of these people who are happy with the role they are playing in transforming the country. So I really look forward, on behalf of my team, to talk to you this afternoon, have a chance to answer your questions, and meet you two later to think about how this can become reality. Thank you very much. It's been great chatting with you.
Wow. What a fantastic project, and I think you see the passion that they're putting into it. So please let me ask the other members of the Passion to Profession team to come up on stage, join me on the sofas, and answer some of your questions. So who would like to go first? The lady over there.
Hi, I think it's a really, really great idea. And my question is, I guess you're starting with a website, and that's what you're trying to progress through, and this information is going to be available through websites. But in Bangladesh, a huge population does not have access to internet. And being from Bangladesh myself, I know there are certain populations that are systematically alienated from systems of education, and they don't even have access to schools. So do you have a plan where you can turn this website into something that could be accessible for students who do not have access to schools, who do not have access to internet, or what other alternatives do you have rather than the website?
Thank you very much. I think it's a great question. We have, because most of the students in rural villages, they don't have access to internet. That's why we are trying to create cities and going to rural villages and to the places where students do not have access to information, and distributing those information to them, and creating small summits and gatherings in rural areas so that they can come, parents, teachers, and students, and they can talk to us, and we can provide them with those information that will help them.
Fantastic. Glad they're thinking about that. A question in the back over there.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm from South Africa. Have you thought of mobile technology?
Yes, mobile technology is one of the options that we'll consider, and we will use a range of options because we have to reach people wherever they are. So those who are in urban areas, for instance, might have access to computers. If they do not have computers personally, there might be mobile internet cafes where they could go to, and if this can also be accessed on mobile phones, absolutely yes, we will do our best to ensure that it can be accessed.
Have you done any feasibility studies on the internet usage or the mobility stats in Bangladesh?
Yes, we have, and we understand. We are starting this project in Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, and there is wide internet access in Dhaka, and Jyoti, a team member, is from Bangladesh, and she understands the system. So outside Dhaka, the usage might be a little less than you have in the capital city, but we will get ourselves rooted in Dhaka, and once we're good from there, then we'll spread into other areas. So we will get into rural areas gradually, but we'll start from where there is broad access.
I may be able to assist you with some research that I've done with the Gates Foundation, with Cronus software, where they actually use satellites to create conductivity, and they utilize multiple platforms, where you would then utilize mobile plus, like for example in Africa, they've got 720 million cell phones that will be available. So if you were going to make this scalable, especially with such a large investment, maybe it would be important that you look at the mobile technology and incorporate that from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Because whatever technology you use, you're going to have to adapt going forward.
Very well.
But I'll speak to you later.
Very well. Thank you so much for that.
Fantastic. Useful advice and offers of support. Down here at the front, please.
I lived many years in Southeast Asia, and one of the things I admire of Bangladesh was the greatest Grameen Bank and the greatest BRAC. And I feel, I think it's very interesting what you are saying, but I only noticed that you have $3,000, the smaller amount in your budget for research. And I think here research is very interesting to know what are the motivation and what the careers that these people go. Because it seems that even without wanting, just in the panorama, if you have a greatest Grameen Bank, if you have greatest efforts in non-formal education, how will be, and also you might have a caste system as well, how do you build this gap that will be created among professionals and everyone being professionals and the academia being as the, aiming thing when we are listening that we really need to look much more careful at what the formal systems of education are offering for today's world problem. So I feel that perhaps that area needed a little bit more of reflection and study to know what exactly, because when you say, for instance, he wants to follow medicine, But there are other things. I don't know. Sometimes we are thinking, especially now in bioethics, we really need a medical professional who will be much more human approach than what we have right now. So I don't know. I feel that there are so many issues or many questions, shall I say, for reflection on this project. But your passion is absolutely inspiring, and I think it has the energy grown through the group. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Would you like to reflect on that, or?
I think it's a great point, and if the young boy potentially really wants to be in medicine, and this is a question my team did grapple with yesterday because we had this conversation, what if the boy really wants to study medicine? And the question is, he needs to know that he really wants to study medicine, not just that that is all he's heard in his life. So our big goal is to make sure that he is aware of all his options. And then if he comes back to medicine, then we really want him to be successful in medicine, but not just to stay stuck on medicine if he's not aware of what he's really good at and what he's passionate about. So it's a really good point, and we hope that the more we do with this, we'll be able to do better research. Obviously, we want to do a lot more research to help us get off the ground, and that's a great point. Thank you so much for that.
Fantastic. I thought I might just use the moderator's privilege to ask a question myself, because it does sound like you're talking about high-level professional careers, where when you show those numbers, you see 18 million starting primary school and only 6 million starting secondary school. So that's 12 million people who aren't getting anywhere near that, whatever happens. Are you planning on covering the kinds of careers that young people leaving primary school without a secondary education might be able to pursue?
Actually, thank you very much for the question. Having P2P focusing on mainly high-level professionals, like the profession that are regarded in the society as high-level. In the future, after having the 5 or maybe having the 8 videos on considering the high-level professionals, there's also consideration of other professionals that can be considered within the society that are mainly not recognized. Where you say, if Nazim wants to be a doctor, actually, and he gets stuck being a doctor, but actually there are other alternatives where we say they are not high-level professionals that are being considered, that is skills, that is very talented, that you can pursue. Then I think we can also research on that and consider them.
Fantastic. So some more questions from the audience down the front here.
Thank you for great efforts that took place for this project. Are you willing to take this project further than other countries than Bangladesh? This is the first question. And another thing, it's a comment. You are taking a long time in some phases of the project. I think you can just test through YouTube channel or Facebook page. You don't have to have the website, full website ready until you test your project.
Yes, we are not going to stay stuck in Bangladesh, but we really we've considered Bangladesh as an area where this is obviously needed. As you can see, the numbers are very staggering. So if we can get this right in Bangladesh, we absolutely will be going to other countries across the place. And we really want to get a chance for people to use the system by themselves and be sure that it works for them before we scale up. So we could do Facebook, but I'll much rather sit in a classroom with a child who is using the system and discovering as they go. So we'll consider both options, obviously.
Fantastic. And the last question, please.
Hi there, my name's Emily Laurie and I work for Future First Global, and we're a new charity that's about to launch. It's actually really similar in terms of mission. We're all about school to work transition and mentoring, so it'd be great to talk further once this session's finished. The focus of our model is actually around using alumni from from schools, from high schools, from public high schools specifically, to come back and be mentors and to provide online mentoring. And so it's exactly the same model, but we really focus on engaging alumni. And so I was just wondering if you have thought at all about engaging with alumni in Bangladesh. And we've also got research in 7 countries that you can have access to, which looks at this as kind of baseline.
Yes, that's a great point, and that's always a good place to start with those who know the system very well. So we actually want to build a network of lots of local professionals in Bangladesh because they know the place better than anyone else. And if you can find a local professional who's maybe in a career like graphics design, who's maybe not your doctor, engineer, lawyer, if there's a person who is really passionate about graphics design, and there's an alum from their school who is now a successful graphics designer, that's perhaps the best person that can be used for a system of this nature. So yes, we will work with alumni who are local in Bangladesh and who have modeled the kind of success that we expect young people in Bangladesh to aspire to. So we're really hopeful of meeting lots of you again this afternoon. If you'd like to have a chat, want to discuss this further and get more ideas from you.
Fantastic, thank you. So let's have a big round of applause. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much, Passion to Profession. And the final project you'll be hearing from today is Duende, which will be presented by Ivan Novak. She's a social entrepreneur already with her own foundation and currently studying for a master's in humanistic studies. So please take to the stage Evan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm representing Duende, and this is what we're here for, to talk about children born of war. Last summer we had the opportunity to go to Gulu, northern Uganda, and we met with Florence. She's a mother of a so-called child born of war. I'm sure you are all aware of the recent abductions of children, like schoolgirls, in Nigeria by Boko Haram. Similarly, Florence is one of many women who was abducted during the Ugandan civil war by the Lord's Resistance Army. Have you ever wondered what happened to these girls after their abduction? Like 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, or even 10 years? Girls become mothers. Mothers of children whose fathers are rebels. They become mothers of children born of war. So children born of war are children who are fathered by either an enemy, an allied, or peacekeeping force. So Duende addresses the social exclusion and stigmatization of these children born of war through art education. This problem has been recognized in many countries, such as Rwanda, Kosovo, Liberia, Sierra Leone. However, it has largely been unaddressed by humanitarian organizations. Duende is focusing on the children born of war and the stigmatization of these children in northern Uganda. So in northern Uganda, there has been like a 20-year-long war. And during this war, over 25,000 children were abducted. As a result of these abductions, thousands of children were born in captivity. And although there has been peace for almost 8 years now, there is still no support mechanism for these female victims, the mothers, and their children, to really, like, when they return to their villages. So these kids face like many challenges. So we spoke with many mothers, and Sandy, another mother, she told us what her neighbor said to her. This is the quote. "Don't even touch my children. Go away. Take away your devil that you brought from the bush by killing the people you killed. Don't even touch my children." So these kids, they just face stigmatization, continued exclusion by their families and their communities. They are being feared. Imagine that these kids, they are being born, they are being raised in a violent environment between bullets, violence, and they continue to suffer from deep-rooted trauma once they returned home. So they have like psychosocial issues, they have like communication issues and identity crisis. In the words of a boy that just returned from captivity, life is all about killing or being killed by someone else. So it's violent, right? It's very violent. And the effects of trauma are like hindering their daily performance at school, their daily communication, and their hopes for the future. And the mothers really call for the need for psychosocial programs that explore identity, build resilience, and foster peer support. What we want to do, Duende addresses these issues through creating an arts-based peace education curriculum. We would love to build capacity of local counselors and social workers so they can continue the program. And we want to build a space for reflection, celebration, and dialogue. So why the arts? Duende really believes in the transformative power of the arts. We are building on a long-standing tradition of the arts as a tool for therapy, for education. And research has shown that the arts can really be a very powerful force to foster resilience, introspection, and building community. So we are envisioning this 3-phase program: connect, cultivate, and celebrate. This is like a model that can be implemented in other post-conflict areas in working with children born of war. We believe it's really vital to be culturally sensitive. Therefore, the first phase of the project is really about building trust, about doing research, about connecting with the kids, the communities, the mothers, local organizations. Based on informed research, we will carry out activities specifically tailored for the needs and challenges of these children, arts activities. In parallel, we will build social workers and trainers so they can continue the program, implement really the project, ensure the sustainability, basically. So in the third phase, it's all about celebration. And celebration is about giving a stage for these kids to really show the work to their families, to their communities, and to, like in a yearly festival, Agulu's Art Children's Festival. So, we really believe that it's key to have key local partners, local stakeholders, and we met with various organizations. And the first organization is Wateki Gen. And Wateki Gen is like the only organization that is really doing research on the current situation of these children. So they are gathering more and more data, and they have a very good relationships with these kids and their mothers. Secondly, the Justice and Reconciliation Project. This is a grassroots peace-building organization. They have a very good reputation in the community and also at a national level. I worked with this organization for half a year in 2012, and they're really, it's a really good organization. They're also very happy to work with us. Lastly, the Happy Made By Foundation. They are creative therapists, and they will develop our curriculum. They have work experience in northern Uganda, in Kenya, and in Ethiopia. So together with these organizations, we've been identifying the costs to implement a one-year pilot phase of the program. We are looking into applying for grants, like on an international and national level. And we are looking for partnerships to really maximize the impact of our project. So we would love to hear from you, and maybe even work with you, collaborate with you. So please feel free to come to us and meet us. I really would like to end this presentation with the words of Florence. Our lives have already been ruined, but the lives of these children should not be ruined. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. What a powerful project. So please, the rest of the members of the Duende team, come on stage, take a seat, and let's give you a few challenging questions. Wonderful. So I'm sure all sorts of things we'd like to know. There's a man with his hand up at the back. Let's see if we can get him a mic.
Hi, Lutfi from Creative Society. Really inspiring, like the project, really like a subject that is touching right now, and I think it's the last generation that we talk about. One thing that I think would be really interesting that you focus on is how are you going to make them be sustainable or rebuild their self-trust too? I find interesting that you will ask like for funds as a seed, but how can you make it self-sustain and build their self-trust or become social entrepreneurs in what they do through art?
That's a very good question. We had trainings in the last year in like social entrepreneurship. We tried to make business models. And I think one of the conclusions of this journey was like that we believe that like when we talk about sustainability, we also really want to talk about cultural and like investing in people. And I think for the initial project, we really just want to apply for grants, just go through the traditional fundraising model, start also with like crowdfunding, and then hopefully see if we can take it to a next level.
I just want to add to that. I think for us, when we talk about sustainability, we don't see this as a project that we are implementing in the community. We're bringing something to the community which is adding to what they are already doing. We are collaborating with psychologists who are already working in the field and really want to bring them methodologies that they can continue to use within the community and within the work that they are already doing.
Let's have the gentleman on the end first and then Gertrude.
So my question to you all is, have you ever thought about monetizing your project by connecting this, because it's expressive arts and there's going to be some like art pieces that you would have as an end product, and like monetizing that as maybe like showcasing the art pieces that the children make in the website and doing something like that? It was just a curiosity.
Thanks. I just want to say that we're dealing with very vulnerable children, and that we're working with the arts really as a means for their social, emotional development. I mean, we've also been thinking about, hey, can we like create like projects? Can we like sell it? Can we expose it? But we feel it's a very delicate issue. Like someone in the community really said, like, can you really make like stars out of these children? Can you like really do this talent show for these kids? And can you bring them to Europe? You know, it's a big dream. But we feel like we should start it small. It's about the arts as a tool, as a means to something else, and not as an end product in itself. Thanks.
Okay, next question.
Thank you very much. At this time, I should say my name, Gertrude Sekabira, from Uganda. I hope you are aware that there are so many organizations working in northern Uganda, especially Gulu, and all of them are focusing on rehabilitation of the children of the war. And I hope that you have connected with them. Currently, I feel that Gulu might be overburdened with many organizations, but there are so many other parts that have also been affected. As a Ugandan, I feel that focusing on one part might also not bring in a lot of effect. Secondly, using art, indeed, is a powerful tool. As an artist, I understand it so well that one can speak through art. But what is the end result of what is spoken by these children through the art? If you will not publicize it, if it will not be of the use to the public, what is the aim? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful that you're sharing this experience with us. I agree that there are many organizations in Gulu, but what I also heard from the community and from some NGOs that there are because it has been 8 years now that many organizations are leaving, and we're talking about a very specific group when it comes to children, so children who were born in captivity of the LRA, and the women feel that those kids don't have any program or any support mechanism yet. But I can feel your concern about Gulu and this Gulu as an NGO town, and that it's always about these people. And your second question about like what's the end that we foresee, to be very specific. The mothers told us that our young children who returned from the bush, like in their first 4 years, they don't actually know that they were born in captivity because they don't have any memories of it. And the mothers really struggle to tell. So they just lie. They say, oh, no, you were born in Kampala. But the neighbors, they will gossip and they will say, no, you are a child of a rebel. So these mothers, they are struggling. And they asked us, can you make a program through which they really can explore their identity, in which you can start telling what actually has happened, what was the war. So in a way, we foresee that at the end of the program, a child knows what has happened, can deal with it, knows why people are afraid of the child, how to deal with that. Build peer support to really be more stronger, empowered, and to also like create this community for kids.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll take some more questions. I think great if some of the other members of the team can also share a little of their passion. The gentleman on the far side there, please.
Hi, good day. I'm Imran Chunara from Johannesburg, South Africa. First of all, congratulations on a fantastic presentation. I run an NGO called Direct Aid International. We do work in about 29 countries in Africa. We run about 160 schools and 3 universities. We get a lot of donor funding, obviously. Your figure up there that you put up there is quite extensive to get going. My biggest question coming from a donor perspective, because we fund a lot of projects in Africa, is sustainability and the outcome. What is the actual outcome? And I understand the use of art in the therapy of these children and kind of just bringing out of them and kind of integrating them into society. From a donor's perspective, and I'm sorry to be so maybe black and white about it, but donors, when they're giving money, you want to know sustainability. Donors are very savvy nowadays. Sustainability and outcome. Once you found out how these children have been affected through the use of the arts, what are you going to do? What program do you have? How do you work with these kids going forward? Or do you just help them identify it and then what? And of course, my biggest question is around sustainability. Financial sustainability is really key because the idea is amazing, but the sustainability is the challenge.
I just want to focus on the first part of your question. So we're really developing, and we can maybe talk about it afterwards, the detail of the curriculum, but we really have experts in arts and therapy developing a book that has a teacher manual and that has books for the children to use that incorporates a lot of local arts and activities that's focused to really use arts as a therapeutic method. And these are things that we are giving to the community to use even when we're not there. So these are physical books and curriculums that we are training people with to use. And obviously, as we measure the outcomes and really look at the impact of the program, we will adjust that according to what we see works and what does not. But it's really empowering, giving the community a tool that they can continue to use, even if we're not physically there.
And somebody on the sustainability part? Or perhaps that's one to save. Sustainability, how will it become truly sustainable? I think Ivan sort of mentioned in passing, but are there some fledgling ideas?
I think it would be lovely to meet with you afterwards and discuss this more and hear some of your thoughts on that.
Fantastic. And I think this is probably where there is a real role for some mentorship. I also was thinking the same thing about outcomes, to be able to explain those in a way that donors and other people will be very specific about, because the project sounds great. Last question, I think, the lady at the back, please.
Hello, and I first want to say thank you for your presentation. I think this is an amazing initiative, particularly the group of young people that you want to address and the conflicts that they're going through. But my question is, I guess for all of you on the panel, any of you can answer it, because you chose this issue for a reason, whether personally or professionally you've come across it. And so individually, as a person who's working on this initiative, how would you measure success? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? What does success look like for you? And it doesn't have to be numbers, but it can be a story or a person you met specifically.
Thank you, Jumeirah, for that question. So in our monitoring and evaluation model that we've developed, we have specifically put aside that we will internally design specific tools of measurement with the creative therapists on site upon the implementation of the curriculum. So these creative therapists will work with local counselors and local social workers who will be working with these children to measure their development through the program. These monitoring and evaluation tools will be used, will be designed specifically with accordance to the phases that we are implementing. So in the implementation of our arts-based and peace education curriculum, we will have specific tools that will be designed with the experts and with the community itself to measure children's, for example, I mean, it's a very layman
example would be how comfortable are they, first of all, to start expressing their thoughts and their feelings. And portfolios of these children will be kept by the educators, the counselors, and the social workers to keep a track of how these children have developed through this program. Yeah, is there anything?
I just, because you mentioned the personal story, and for me, one of the most touching moments of our visit to Gulu, Ivana and I was lucky enough to go there, was you read so much of these things about the kids and what they face and, you know, just the difficulty that they're going through and what people think of them. And while we were visiting Watikigen, who is one of our key partners, one of these boys ran into the place where we're meeting, and when he walks out, Angela, who we were speaking to, says, "This boy just came back from captivity 1 month ago." And you realize, like, he's so normal. He came in there, greeted us. You know, he's just like playing like we played when we were young. And for me, the success of the program is if I know that he has, you know, the self-confidence, that he feels the belonging to really become resilient and to be able to contribute to his community like each one of us can contribute to our communities and not be affected by the way he was born or the circumstances under which he was born.
Wonderful. So unfortunately that's all we've got time for, but a big round of applause for the team. They've done some great work.
What this group is doing is looking into child rights. Not many agencies, and most of you are here present, are looking into children. Let's not say, it's a very nice way to put it, born out of war. These are children whose mothers or women have been raped. So this is a very terrible issue, not only for children, but for mothers, for societies. And also in societies, that because a woman is raped, that woman doesn't exist or is totally marginalized for any right. So really what this group is doing is going beyond children, is going to change minds of the society. So to ask what is the sustainability or the outcomes, I feel the outcome is you are contributed to these human beings who will have the right in the society. So will I have to be strongly thinking on how will I measure to give support as a donor? I think it is exactly what we hear this morning. When we speak about creativity, no one said creativity. When we hear about art, that right now at this stage in my life is the most powerful thing I have ever found or anything on human development. Use art is the best. I offer to help you. I created a program called Peace Ambassador. And that arts one day will be changing. If we were to have bureaucrats with the soul of artists, the policies that we have in the world would be very different. And so one day this will happen, and therefore, sorry to take this microphone this way, but I felt that this group is doing wonderful, and we really need to give them much more support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that extra contribution. I think these are some debates that would be very interesting to continue. Unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to continue them right now. So thank you very much to the team for presenting and answering all these really quite challenging questions. Thanks to all the other teams who presented today. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.